Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between NightEnd spawning as the green Protoss player over here versus I'm not gonna, I think it's I can't even pronounce this name, so I'll just try to call him the red Zerg player. It's Eizcaj. Yeah, Eizcaj. Yeah. So anyways, we have the Overlord now coming out to spawn. Scrap Station, one of those 1v1 maps that was introduced in the beta. There are some slight changes with the vents, and adding of destructible debris halfway through the beta. But pretty much the map has remained intact, and we usually see a lot of very interesting strategies. And now already NightEnd moving down and going to set up a pylon on this low ramp. So this is a really interesting strategy, setting this pylon over here. Not quite sure what exactly NightEnd wants to do with this. There is an Overlord out, and will the Overlord be able to get sight of this pylon on the low ground? You may think that there's some sort of proxy expansion being set up somewhere, and now in comes a Forge. So we have a Forge over here on the low ground, and this is a very interesting position for it, because normally the Forge expansion was done over here. What the Forge expansion allows you to do is it allows a Protoss player to take his natural expansion and defend it very, very easily. We already have the Overlord now moving out, and will NightEnd, I guess the question is going to be, will he try to proxy and do a cannon rush? That would be very, very interesting indeed. If he does go for some sort of cannon rush strategy, in comes this probe. Probe now going to go ahead and do a little bit of scouting, and perhaps not pretend not to see that one building over there, and now moving around looking for that spawning pool, sees that spawning pool as the Forge is up and running, chrono boosting that nexus, but still nothing to reveal that it is going to be in fact some sort of cannon rush just quite yet. In comes this probe. Probe may try to set up a pylon here and double cannons here to deny this expansion. No hatchery over here though, and now one cannon being brought into position. This is a kind of a weird opening for NightEnd. I've never seen a single cannon, no gateway rush without some sort of cannon rush from the Protoss player. NightEnd really doing an interesting strategy, not exactly sure what he's going to be going for, and no assimilator yet. We already have enough minerals for another nexus, so we should probably know another pylon being placed here. So we may have a pylon here for another cannon here to try to guard these destructible rocks, but NightEnd hasn't done anything except make pylons and cannons and probes. So in comes this probe running around. Let me check. Yeah, this is not a ladder match. This isn't some sort of placement match where NightEnd's trying to do something cute. However, Easy now spawning up a hatchery over here at the high yield minerals at the 7 o'clock position, and also setting up another hatchery over here. So that is a very interesting opening so far. NightEnd now moving away with this probe. A cannon now going to be warped in here. So one cannon here, a gateway being placed here. This cannon will be able to hold off a lot of Zerglings trying to do any sort of pressuring and trying to take down these destructible debris. So very, very nice placement so far. Zergling going to run in through here, perhaps try to sneak in through these gateways. Two Zerglings sitting here. The Zerglings do not know about these cannons over here as this cannon now finishes warping in. We do not have an assimilator anywhere yet, and we are now sitting on 23 harvesters versus 23 harvesters. No drones here or here. Easy now continuing to mine both players with a very, very weird strategy, I must say, and I'm really curious on how this is going to open up. There's a number of different strategies. A cybernetics core now coming in as well. We should probably see a pylon being warped in, otherwise NightEnd will be supply locked, as we already have double assimilators being laid down. So NightEnd playing more of a macro game, transferring some probes over, and because he hid the assimilators down here, it doesn't, I'm not sure NightEnd's going to realize what the strategy is, as there's no gas here yet. So very, very interesting so far. However, Easy now getting the hatchery and now going to train up a queen, and they're going to be able to spawn larva and really saturate this gold yield mineral location very, very easily. Back army-wise, we see NightEnd sitting on 100 minerals versus Easy's 25. So there's one zealot sitting right there in between those two gateways. Another zealot popping out at the last moment, and now we have probes mining gas off of these assimilators. We have a fair number of a chrono boost is still available on both of these nexuses, as more pylons being laid down. We are going to tier 2, and I'm assuming that Easy may try to go for some sort of Mutalisk play, as he is now getting up to 4 gas, may try to get these gas over here eventually, but really these high yield minerals, he wants to try to saturate them before he gets any extra gas. Eizcaj now throwing down a spine crawler here as a little bit of protection as this zealot gonna push on to the north. We do see some drones, and yeah, the drones were spotted by that zealot. Will that zealot be able to? Was he watching the mini map? Is the question, and will he be able to intercept those zealot? Now fighting against that zergling, getting 2 quick hits, and now going after a drone. That drone flying away. More drones being transferred over, but NightEnd has to be curious of what about that strategy is, and now we see a Hydralisk Den. So Hydralisk Den now coming into play. We see him running around with the zealot. The zealot mainly here to catch some good scouting as we have gateways being placed down and a robotics facility. Over here we now are going into additional extractors. I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of spawning pool being placed and hidden over here, since Eizcaj has hidden this base so well, and we should be able to get a spire down and then really start wreaking havoc on NightEnd, unless NightEnd tries to get some pylons here, or sorry, some cannons here and here as well. Back over here we have a robo bay and another robo bay being built here, and now we also have the robotics bay being, sorry, the robotics facility and the robotics bay. Get those confused sometimes. The robotics bay, robotics facility, and the robotics bay for those colossi that will be trained up. And now those colossi will be fairly strong against those hydralisks. Hydralisks are getting that groove spine, so we'll be able to evenly match those colossi before the extended thermal lance range. But with 2 nexuses, he should be able to chrono boost that upgrade very, very easily. I do not see any forge weapon upgrade now underway. Taking a look at the production tab. Groove spines, a metabolic boost, and a couple overlords, more hydralisks, and more spine crawlers here. Creep tumors now being laid out, and you can really see how strong Eizcaj has this map right now. As another creep tumor spawning up on the other side of the map, should be able to get one more creep tumor here, and needs to probably set up a pylon here. NightEnd does, in order to try to protect these destructible rocks. But with those hydralisks, with that range, those hydralisks should be able to shoot down those destructible rocks, even as those, the hydralisks now have a range of 5, will have a range of 6. Also a very, very fast attack rate. Spine crawlers now in position, more and more units still being trained up, as we also have a spire. Extended thermal lance range will come into play, but I still don't think that NightEnd is going to be ready to handle these number of Zerglings and Hydralisks that are already coming into the base. Level 1 weapons upgrade nearing completion. Army 925, now getting 1 Colossus and 3 Stalkers. Where's that Colossus? Colossus sitting right there. Will it be enough? 2 Colossi. So 2 Colossi with that upgraded damage coming in online momentarily, now doing, instead of 30 damage, 34, and that is going to be significant of enough upgrade. Zerglings now trying to push in over here. We do have those photon cannons, and now in those come those Colossus, and Hydralisks are going to be forced to pull away. Colossus now running out a little bit too far, going to be forced to pull back. Colossus a decent movement speed for such a large unit. 225 equal to the movement speed of a Marauder and a Marine. Hydralisk, however, movement of 225 and off of that creep as well. So those Colossi will be able to chase down those units as long as you're able to get some force fields and try to disrupt the path. Over here, some Stalkers still coming in. Army unit combination sitting at 6 Zealots, 2 Colossi, and 3 Stalkers. Production tab, an armor upgrade, extended thermal lance range, and 2 more Colossi, but we also are getting Corruptors. Corruptors now being trained up, dealing extra damage towards massive units, which Colossi are, and that's going to be, really just ruin NightEnd's day. We also see upgrading to tier 3, so upgrading to tier 3 means that we may also get some Broodlords with that greater spire. If he gets those Corruptors, takes down those Colossi, and then upgrades those to Broodlords, and NightEnd's going to be in a very, very difficult situation trying to recover, seeing if he'll be able to try to even come back into this game. Production, now Immortals joining the party. So, 2 Immortals, not quite sure why there are Immortals, as there are no Roaches and no armored units at all. Hydralisks are able to take down Immortals easily just because of that very, very fast attack rate. And even though those overshields will get activated, it only protects 2 damage. Over here, out comes an Observer. Observer should try to take down some of those creep colonies. Taking down those creep colonies is very, very important to try to reduce the movement speed of Hydralisks. So yeah, those creep colonies getting taken down and will not be able to move very, very quickly off once that creep recedes. It will take quite some time, and those Hydralisks still have a very decent movement speed now. Colossi overexposing themselves as those Corruptors are now coming in, taking down one of those Colossi very easily, and now Zerglings coming in as well. The Colossi trying to fight and trying to hold their own, but those Corruptors in the air doing a great job, gonna destroy the 4 Colossi, and now the army combination of NightEnd really, really weak. More Stalkers being warped in, cannons coming in, or cannons now within range. Down goes that last Colossi there, and now Hydralisk, just mass Hydralisk coming in, and things are not looking good. Really needs to get some Dark Templars. Oh, and there they are. There's a Dark Templars. I didn't even know about the Dark Shrine. Dark Templars now moving out as well. Will it be enough to take these units? And yeah, in come those Overshields, and because there are no Overseers, those Dark Templars are going to get some free hits. Dark Templars move at a slightly faster speed than those Stalkers, than those Hydralisks, so those Stalkers and Dark Templars may be able to get in some extra damage. Now moves out one Colossus over here. There are still a lot of Corruptors in the air, and we are upgrading to the Greater Spire, so we will be getting Broodlords. Eizcaj sitting on a large amount of minerals and gas. Down goes this Colossi very easily, or Colossus very easily. Hydralisk now coming in. Dark Templars coming in as well, but there is one Overseer offering sight. Down goes that last Dark Templar once again. And now Eizcaj just not trying to press, doesn't want to overexpose his hand as he's waiting for those Broodlords. The Greater Spire upgrade should be completed in a matter of moments. If I can find the Greater Spire, where is that Greater Spire? Okay, it's a really small building. Oh my goodness. I hate it when this happens. Alright, well, there is a Greater Spire being produced. I know of it, and it's being morphed in somewhere. And now that Greater Spire is done, and now we have Broodlords being hatched in these cocoons. So Broodlords coming in to join in on that fight will be able to deal a lot of damage. There's that Greater Spire, also getting the level 1 weapons upgrade. And do we have the Claw upgrade as well? The Claw upgrades from those Evolution Chambers, and no Claw upgrade, so those Broodlings will not be dealing extra damage. Hydralisk coming in, and we do have some Spine Crawlers. Spine Crawlers are not going to be strong against those Immortals with that Overshields, but with those Broodlords now, 10 Broodlords in the air, dealing 20 damage per attack, attacking as slowly as a Hellion. But those Broodlords spawn those Broodlings, and those Broodlings are going to be taking so much of that aggro that it's not going to really matter. Zerglings now coming in to engage, Hydralisk coming in to engage, and now in come those massive amount of Broodlings. Broodlings now just tearing away at those Immortals, at those Stalkers, and the Stalkers unable to get within attack range of those Broodlords, and this army of Hydralisk and Broodlords just destroying everything here. Broodlords dropping down Broodlings so easily. You can see how many Broodlings are just constantly being spawned. 2 control rows, or 2 control groups constantly being spawned and then dying to that timer. Zealots fighting in vain against this army as Broodlings continue to just scamper across and take down more and more of these units here. 2 gateways now down, so losing some of that production, but NightEnd doesn't even have enough to do anything. But in comes some Void Rays. Void Rays are trying to counteract those Broodlords. Now those Void Rays trying to pull back, perhaps charging up on that Dark Shrine. So that Void Ray charging up on that Dark Shrine, wants to get up to that full attack ability, and now going after some of those Hydralisks. Are they using that phasing? No, they are not phasing. Just constantly attacking against those Hydralisks. Immortals continuing to push. Only 2 Void Rays in the air. More Void Rays being trained up though off of 3 Stargates. So those 3 Stargates continue to push, and now too many units, and NightEnd calls GG. Wow, I was hoping that those Void Rays would be able to counter those Broodlords and extend this game even longer. That was a great play. These Stargates now training an additional, I think, 2 more Void Rays. Another Void Ray was just taken down. But yeah, what a great game. A great tech change from Hydralisks to Corruptors into Broodlords, and transitioning so nicely. And this is what gave EZ the game against NightEnd here on Scrap Station. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between EZ and NightEnd.